All right, hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for checking in this week. I'm not going to have a guest this week because I have a bunch of things on my mind that I got to get off my chest. Otherwise, I'm going to snap. So we're going to have a little rant here, and hopefully some of this stuff will connect with you. If not, at least I get it off my chest and I don't take it out on my family. So I'm Italian. I'm 100% Italian, okay, and both sides of the family. And somewhere along the line, being a European immigrant, you stopped being a quote-unquote minority in this country. And what tells me that is if you're Italian or German or French, it's okay, or Irish, it's okay to make jokes about those races that are even borderline racist or stereotype, and no one gets upset. But if I make jokes about African Americans or Asians or Indians or Native Americans, I am racist. Now, if you think I've lost my mind about this, you see it on an international level. Wendy's had a commercial recently for the Italian Tuscan sandwich. And at the end of the commercial, the Wendy's girl bites into the sandwich and she says, after I eat this, I want to talk very loudly with my hands. Well, I'm Italian, okay? I could find that racist and a stereotype, but nobody in the world, in this country, got upset about it. But if it were, say, that week, a special at Wendy's for the Wendy's Chalupa, and she bit into it and said, after I eat this, I want to sneak into a country illegally and steal jobs, everyone would be upset about it. People be writing letters and all this other stuff and tweeting about it and Facebook posts. Or if she's like, let's say it's a special that week for the Asian Chinese chicken salad, and after she goes, after I eat this Chinese chicken salad, I want to do math and play the cello. People would be very upset. So I'm trying to figure out where the line of racism in this country. And recently I made a revelation that could make some people uncomfortable. I like sports. I love basketball. I grew up in New England. I'm a Boston Celtics fan. My favorite player growing up was Larry Bird. Now, saying that, as a white guy, people get a little nervous. And part of the reason he was my favorite player was because he was great and he won championships, but also because he was white. And I related to him more than I did the black players. And I think that's true of black players. Perfect example of this was Jeremy Lin, great Asian point guard, played for the New York Knicks. I live in New York. The number of Asians that were coming out to the Knicks games tripled when he was playing. One could argue that's a form of racism. Why didn't they come out and support the black and the two white players in the league that were coming through the Garden? I mean, it was crazy. Again, there were so many Asians that there was literally math and cello playing booths at the Madison Square Garden. Okay, there. So I think it's all of this. Look, Larry Bird for me, great player, taught me a great lesson that if you work hard and focused and diligent and there's a shortage of black players in the NBA, you could be a white player in the NBA. Okay, that's what I took away from it. So I think it's okay to sort of like races that are like yourself and not be a stereotyped, accused of stereotyping people or racist. But maybe that's just me. A couple of days ago, I was at the park with my son. Separate thing here. I'm hitting him ground balls in an infield in Central Park. And unless you have a permit, basically, baseball field, if you're using it and somebody else wants to use it, you kind of share it. So there's some people hanging out at the field, couple of guys with their kids, whatever. They're not using the field. I start to hit my son ground balls at the field. So what do? They come out on the field and they start playing with their little kids who are like 7, 8 years old on the field. And they're playing on like the half of the field from the mound to the plate. And I'm hitting them ground balls like from third base towards second base. So we're using the upper half of the field, closer to the outfield. And one of these guys, who you could tell was a little weaselly, he was a little hunchback weaselly guy. He kind of talked like that. You could just feel like he slithered out from under a rock. So all of a sudden, he comes over like 3 feet from me to field ground balls. Somebody's pitching to his kid. And he goes, try not to hit me. Now I'm hitting hard ground balls to my kid, who's older. He's not 7 years old. And I don't say anything. And after a few times of me hitting the ball, I'm getting nervous. I'm going to hit this guy. Now, understand, he's got most of the field, but he's creeping his way to our section, right? I say to him, look, could you do me a favor and move in a little bit? I don't want to accidentally hit you. And he kind of gives me a dirty look, but he moves in. About 5 minutes go by. What does he do? He backs up past where I'm hitting, so now he's playing like short left field, just onto the grass off of like third base. So now he's basically 3 feet from me on the other side. And he has this 7-year-old son standing behind my son, who I'm hitting hard ground balls to. And I do it a couple of times, and then I go to him and I go, "What?" I said to him, "What is the problem?" He goes, "What?" I go, "You have most of the field. We have this little lane that I'm trying to hit my son ground balls, and you need to move into my area, and I asked you nicely not to be here. And then what did you do? You took over more ground, and you put your kid in harm's way, totally irresponsible, putting him behind my son who I'm hitting balls. If my son misses a ball or I hit one too hard, I could hit your kid. Hey, it's a public park." I go, "It is a public park, you're right. And I'm letting you use part of the field, and you should be letting me use part of the field." He goes, "Well, we got kids here, we want to play." I go, "Well, I got my kid here, I want to play." And I go, "Well, I think you're being inappropriate." He goes, "Well, I think," and this is what I don't like about this. This is why I'm bringing this up, because then people use their kids as a shield for their obnoxious behavior. He goes to me, "Oh, you're setting a really good example for your son by doing this." I go, "Actually, I am." And my wife spoke up and defended me, which is rare because usually she's telling me to shut up and because I'm going to get shot. I said, "I'm actually setting him a perfect example. You can't be an asshole and then hide behind your kid and go, 'Don't say anything that I'm an asshole,' because kids are around. No, your kids are going to learn from the behavior of being an asshole and be assholes themselves, unless somebody like me says something to you and tells you to stop being an asshole." And then you know what he said to me? "Talk to the hand." He said, "Talk to the hand." What are you, a 17-year-old girl from the 80s? Who says talk to the hand anymore? So we get into it. Then the wife of the other guy comes over, this like, Bronx, like, "What are you doing?" Like that, this Gavone, and she starts yelling, "There are kids on the field." I go, "No, there are kids on the..." Again, she starts to hide behind, "Hey, my kids are here. You shouldn't be doing this in front of them." And I'm like, "You're setting a bad example for your kids. You don't just ignore the fact that somebody's on the field. You had a chance to use the whole field. I show up, and then suddenly you got to use the field." That's what I'm talking about. People just do things to annoy other people. So this went on, and then the screaming match ensued. Me, my wife, this woman, another guy, and the weasel that was moving around. And you know what the kids are doing? They're all just standing there looking at us. So the way it ended is I hit everybody in the head with the bat. I just felt like that was the best way to deal with it. They'll remember when they touch their head and they have a bump, why they got it. Now, it ended with the guy moving away. I continued to hit balls to my kid, and they went back to their half of the field. But this was a nice day out where I'm trying to relax, and it's Sunday, and I'm getting into confrontations over, what part of a baseball field I can use. This is why I feel like I need to move to the woods, and I just need to live in the woods alone and eat berries and drink my own urine to survive, because people are jerks and people break my heart, and I feel like at this point I'd be better off alone. I've talked in the past about trying to get a red onion, and the woman wouldn't break change for a $20 bill for a 45-cent red onion. I don't know if I ever mentioned that a guy was driving me in a cab, and we weren't in our destination yet, and we're about, say 3 blocks from where I'm supposed to go. He stops the cab, rolls the window down, he takes all these orange rinds and tries to throw them through his passenger side window without getting out of the cab, through the passenger side window into a garbage can like 50 feet away, and he misses completely. So now there's orange rinds all over the streets of New York. And me, because I think you got to change people's behavior, I say, "Get out of the cab and pick up your garbage." He's like, "No." I go, "Get out, pick up your garbage." He goes, "No." I go, "Get out of the cab." And he was Indian, and I had all this racist stuff in my head, like, "This isn't Calcutta, you son of a bitch." Like, I wanted to say that. Like, I don't let my camel shit where you live. Like, I was just, whatever, I was out of it. I was losing my mind. And I basically said, Get out of the cab and pick up your orange rinds. He gets out, really mad, like a 12-year-old, pouting, picks them all up. We get to the destination. The cab fare is $12.50. And I give him $12.50. And he goes, what, no tip? So he expected a tip after all of this. After acting like a jerk, knowing he was a jerk, knowing he did the wrong thing, knowing that you can't throw food in the streets of a city that's civilized, even if it's a city of 12 million people, you owe some level of civilized behavior to each other, other it all breaks down. You got to let people share a baseball field. You got to not throw your food in the streets and just think someone else is going to deal with your bad behavior. It's all the same issue. It's like it's all about me, and complete ignorance to anybody else's needs or wants or desires. So I say, he goes, no tip? He expects a tip. I go, no. He goes, why? Like he was incredulous, like he couldn't understand why. I said, because you're just going to buy oranges with it. That's why. So, listen, email me through my website, paulmercurio.com. This stuff is endless for me. I got in an argument over soup. I'll tell you about that another day. I got in an argument over soup. I almost got in a fist fight over soup. And I feel like people just don't understand when they need to behave, you know? And we live in a society where it's condoned. Like you got football teams, NFL teams signing guys who have a track record of domestic violence. And then when they get into the trouble again, they suspend them. Well, what did you think was going to happen? If the guy didn't go into any rehab, he didn't get any kind of conviction for it, he's roided up and he's pissed half the time in his life because that's his job, is to be an angry human being that tackles and crushes 300-pound men. What did you think was going to happen when someone didn't pass him the salt? Did you think he was Mr. Rogers? Did you think he was Gandhi? He's going to come down hard on the person who doesn't pass the salt. You don't sign these guys. I mean, why are people surprised by people's behavior? So that's why I think the best place to be is in the woods, because you just have animals. Animals have their lives figured out. They've evolved. They don't need any help from us, including the turtle. You know, my wife was driving with me, and a turtle was crossing the road, and this turtle had come like 50 yards from a pond and was crossing this road, was going into a field. And that's a long way for a turtle to go. And my wife gets out of the car, and she picks up the turtle, and she brings it back to the pond. And I'm like, okay. But then I started to think, you know, maybe the turtle didn't need her help. You know, maybe the turtle has somewhere really important to go. I mean, the turtle has evolved all these years, millions and millions of years, right? And all I could think is the turtle's being brought back to the pond, and he's thinking, oh, this is just great. This is the third time today some asshole brought me back to this pond. You know, so I just think that we should take better care of each other and not worry about animals so much. They got to figure it out. If anything, we can learn something from them, including peeing in public. Is it the worst thing in the world? I don't have to worry about bathrooms. Anyway, that's where I am on all of this. As things progress, I will keep you updated. Let me know if you have any great stories. paulmercurio.com. You can email me through my website in the contact section. But it seems like an endless stream of confrontations that I get into. And I don't know if anybody's listening to me. All right, thanks for checking out the podcast. paulmercurio.com. New CD up. Buy it. And spread the links around to the podcast. People keep wanting to grow the Paul Mercurio Nation here. And follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You guys are the best. See you next week.